If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
Hello, book lovers. Welcome to Must Love Books. Hello and welcome back to Must Love Books podcast. Today, I am here to celebrate the release of A Dance of Lies, the debut fantasy romance written by Brittney Arena. Hi, Brittney. How are you?
Hi, Krystle. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you on. You and I have been going back and forth and talking for what feels like a million years now. And I'm so happy that we've finally been able to actually connect and celebrate your release.
Oh, thank you. I'm so honored. It has been a long time. You were one of the first people to reach out to me, and I just had stars in my eyes. So so excited.
So let's talk a little bit about A Dance of Lies. And for our listeners who are eager to pick up a new romantic fantasy, tell them what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. So A Dance of Lies follows Vasily, who was once the king's prized dancer, only he frames her for murder, throws her in prison for 2 years, and at the start of the book, he drags her back out again and offers her freedom if she agrees to spy for him at this royal gathering. But his tasks grow vicious and deadly, and soon she has to decide just how far she'll go to earn her freedom.
Honestly, I am so pumped for this story. I love how it just starts off with this bloody murder, and we've got this vicious king who's here to just fuck shit up. And what kind of king? Why does he want to blame it all on just some dancer? Who has this thought? I'm gonna kill people and I'm gonna blame a dancer for it.
Ooh, and that is the question, right? I will say it's not random. There's a lot of twists that are really fun in the book, and yeah, but he's an interesting character. I'm so curious to see what people make of him.
I love it. I love a good villain, and we've got some spying and royal intrigue, and honestly, I'm just super here for it.
Oh, yay, thanks. Yeah, honestly, I am such a huge villain fan. Most of what I write, I've written several books at this point, and I can never not have a really interesting and probably attractive, far too attractive villain in every book I write.
I mean, attractive villains, this is what we're here for. This is why we read fantasy romance and romantasy. It's for the attractive villain, isn't it?
Listen, there's so much more interesting to read about, and I think it's really fun to just play with that dynamic. I think it's so interesting to play with that, play with how, the attraction factor weighs in, and if the heroine can resist, and if they should or if they shouldn't, and there's just so many fun dynamics there. And I'm a huge Darkling fan and Kylo Ren fan, and yeah, it just never gets old because there's so much you can do with it.
There's so much you can do with it, and there's so many lines that you can kind of play with and really figure out what lines you're going to cross and where those boundaries are, and what happens when you do just shatter those boundaries because, villain.
Yeah, and books are such a fun place to do it too because you can really go deep with it. And it's a safe place to explore when obviously in real life we need to stay far away. But books kind of give us a safe place to just play with those dynamics and the lines of morality and what you're willing to do and what are the real consequences. And, I also think it's really interesting when you have a villain that could maybe be redeemed. And I'm not saying that's the case in this book in particular. You'll have to find out. But, I don't love the idea that, just because a villain maybe turns around and does something good that, oh, they should still just die, there's almost something to be said about like the consequences. Spoiler alert, when Kylo dies at the end, it's almost, yes, he totally deserved it and he should have, but at the same time, I don't love the idea that making new decisions, making different decisions, and making the right decisions equates to death because of what you've done in the past. You know what I mean? And so it's sometimes interesting to play with that dynamic. Like, what should that look like?
Honestly, you are really onto something there because that has become a trope on its own. And I think in part largely due to the Star Wars universe, because not only did that happen to Kylo Ren, he finally turned things around. He realized he was wrong. He stood up against the Emperor and then he died. But the exact same pattern was followed by his grandfather. When Anakin, he went evil, he became Darth Vader, he did all the bad guy stuff. And when he finally turned stuff around for someone that he also loved, his son, he finally became Anakin again and he was the good guy again and he stood up to Palpatine and then he died.
Yeah, exactly that. Like I just feel that's been done so many times. And obviously, real life is very different and fiction allows us to explore. And I don't know. I kind of hate to see every single villain just, when there's a redemption arc, it always ends in death. And I just think there's so many more ways to kind of explore that. But again, this is very unrelated to my book. I can't say yes or one way or the other. And I like playing with these dynamics across everything I write.
Yeah, honestly, I just want to see every now and then when that villain does turn things around, having to live with it.
I love that.
Yeah, have them live with it. And honestly, in some cases, dying is too easy. It resolves it too quickly and wraps everything up too much. Like, hey, I'm good. And yes, I regret everything I did, but I'm going to die now. So where's the consequences?
Exactly. Sometimes death is not enough.
Yes.
And sometimes if they do have a redemption arc, make them work at it. Not a quick, oh, last minute, I decide to help the hero and then just die. Put them to work.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to see with Kylo Ren specifically, but something that I'd like to see from this trope overall is having to deal with the consequences
Yes.
of his years of brutality and murder and having to face the people. Like, if when he became Ben Solo again, if he had to actually face the survivors of the rebellion.
Yes.
I mean, granted, they probably would have literally tore him to pieces, but he just got off too clean. And then
He really did.
he still got the girl in a way. He got to, smoochy smoochy, and then he just dies and there's no consequences.
There's no consequences and there's no exploration for if he really did want to redeem himself, what that would look like. And yes, I agree. It's such a cheap way to just end it. And I think there's just so much more you can do with it.
And I'd also like to add, it really gives the message, if you just apologize and do one nice thing, all is forgiven. And that's not how any of this works.
Absolutely.
We need these redeemed villains to actually have to do the work and suffer the consequences and show long term that they really do regret the things that they did.
For sure. I'm a sucker for a good villain romance, but my favorite ones are the ones where the heroine really holds them responsible or the love interest, whoever it might be. So it's not like you have to earn this. It's not going to be like, oh yeah, this is easy from now on just because you made a good decision. Like, no.
Right? Like Solo is the hero for literally one day.
Exactly.
And sure, he does play a huge role in saving everyone. Rey would not have been able to succeed without his help. But come on, one day. He's good for one day and everything's forgiven.
Exactly. And also, what about her decisions? She kind of had a dark character arc there for a while, and I wanted to see that, a lot more of that. I wanted to see her almost go in villain mode, and then I also wanted to see just kind of like the flip side of both of them, right? I liked so much of that series. I still love the new Star Wars movies, but I just wanted so much more, and I get the sense you did too.
Yeah, I really thought we were going to see Rey go dark side, and that was going to be the catalyst for Kylo returning to Ben, seeing what he did to her and be like, oh man, I really made her the bad guy. Let's bring you back over here and fix these things. His whole story for the first two movies is him, come join me, be on the dark side, stand with me. I wanted her to be all right, and him be like, wait, no, maybe this wasn't the right idea.
Yeah, I almost wanted that from Shadow and Bone too. Like the same type of, it's just so interesting, right? To like, I don't know, just see the journeys. And I love a reverse journey. I love seeing, a heroine or hero or whatever go dip into that dark side, and like what does that look like, and do they stay there, and what brings them out, if anything?
I think that is what the Shadow and Bone Netflix series was leaning towards. And of course, we're never going to know. But with the way that series ended with Alina using the cut, but it's Kiergan's cut, I wanted to see her go dark side. And I wanted to see her have to battle between, the dark and light within herself. And it just kills me that Netflix canceled that show because I was ready to see that take.
Yeah, me too. And even with the books, I feel we got a little bit of that. Honest, then it just kind of stopped. And, I don't blame Lee Fernier for her decisions. I still love that series, but I want all of these other versions of the book, right? So that I can get everything I wanted. I don't know, alternate endings and things like that. And maybe I'll write something one day.
But seriously, yes, I am totally here for that. I would love to read some kind of fantasy adventure that had multiple endings. I once heard that the original book for 13 Reasons Why, not a fantasy, of course, but I heard that the original book did that. That there were multiple versions of that book printed with different endings. And in some endings, you were able to save the main girl. And in some endings, he didn't save her. And I would love to see more books like that.
That is fascinating. I also love the idea of a book almost being choose your own adventure. So you have to make decisions. Maybe we'll get there one day, because I would love to write something like that. That'd be so fun, because often I'm plagued by indecision. I want to do different things myself, and then I have to choose one path.
I love Choose Your Own Adventure so much. I was obsessed with those books as a kid. And we definitely need to bring those back for adults.
I am notating that. Maybe one day I'll have that conversation with my editor. What if we tried something like this?
Yes, tell your editor that there is an audience for that, and that audience is me. Right? Specifically for me.
There's a lot of people.
Yes, I'll put up a poll. All right, listeners,
there we go.
If you want some Choose Your Own Adventure fantasy books, just tell us, and we'll
writing, so we can
in writing. Like, let's do a poll. Let's have a petition. Something. Let's bring back more adult-oriented, choose your own adventure fantasies. Doesn't even necessarily have to be fantasy romance, even though that is my preferred genre. But also, I'd love to see it in like horror, science fiction. Let's bring back choose your own adventure across all genres.
Yes, I so agree. There's got to be some way to do this.
I can almost see a multi-author collaboration in order to build something. My gears are spinning, and I'm just here for it. Tell your editor to call me. I've got ideas.
It's kind of a secret, but not really a secret. I do have a co-written book with a fellow very close author friend of mine, and maybe that's something we talk about. I don't know if it's possible, but
yes.
My gears are also turning.
What would be really fun from a writer's perspective is working with different authors on creating the Choose Your Own Adventure, but not reading each other's endings. I think that would be super fun to write. Here for it.
Anthology, but like not a collection of short stories. Like they're just one story with different. Oh, that's interesting. I feel like there's so much we could do with this. Okay, I'm taking notes.
Yes, the ideas are here. We just have to make it happen.
Here and endless.
Yes, absolutely. So let's circle back to A Dance of Lies. I would love to talk a little bit about your writing process for approaching your fantasy romance, as well as some of your inspirations.
Oh, yeah. Good question. I feel I have a pretty solid process, but it took me a long time to find it. And just in case it helps anyone, I can kind of walk through it. But a lot of people say to just get through the whole first draft, like just write it, don't stop, don't pause to edit. And I tried that, and I never went back to that book. My brain can't, it doesn't work that way. I forget things. It feels really stressful for me. And so.
Plan on flying? It's time to upgrade to a Real ID. Because in order to board domestic flights, your driver's license or state-issued ID must be a Real ID, or you'll need another acceptable form of identification. So don't wait. Find out how to get your Real ID at tsa.gov/RealID. That's tsa.gov/RealID, or visit your local DMV. And then you'll be cleared for takeoff.
My approach has been, and for the record, I'm a plantser, so I do plotting, but I need to be able to give myself room to play and to let the characters just like make decisions as I learn about them. And so, when I'm first starting out to write, or when I'm first thinking about writing a book, I typically, I'll have a pitch in mind. I'll have some idea about the characters, and I'll give myself, some time to just let the ideas simmer. I will keep a notebook. I'll jot down ideas. I will have little sessions with myself where I just listen to music and write down what comes to me, things like that. And once I feel I have enough to kind of make a very, very, very loose outline for the book, and when I say loose, I mean it's literally just bullet points of, I like these ideas for the beginning, I like these ideas for the middle, I like these ideas for the ending. From there, I will then actually plot the first act. And again, that will be kind of loose, but I'll just give myself an idea of, each scene that I kind of see happening, and I'll write it. I will also just allow myself room to change the game and so on. And then I will usually send that first act to a critique partner. And by doing it that way and only kind of working on one act at a time, it allows me to shift the plans for the next act if I need to. So that way I don't have to replot the entire book. I'm just kind of taking it as it comes. And so often I don't follow my own outline for each act, and I'll shift things and play with things, and new ideas will come, and I just don't want to write myself into a hole. And once I feel like I have a good foundation, because I need a good foundation to be able to continue with the story. I need to feel like I have made the right decisions at the beginning of the book. And of course, yes, things will come up later and I'll have to edit and so on, and there are revisions, but I have to feel like the book is standing on the right legs at the get-go. And so once I feel good about the first act, I will do the same process with the second. I'll start kind of plotting that based on, the general ideas that I had, and then based on any changes that I made in Act 1. Same thing, I will sometimes shoot it out for, somebody to read it and give me the thumbs up, or sometimes I can just kind of feel it out. And then, same thing with the ending. So I will float back and forth between like 3 and 4 act structures. But I kind of have to take it I have to divide it into those increments, and it just helps my brain space.
I'm a big advocate of, when it comes to finishing a novel, trying different methods, finding what works for you, and just forget about the rest. Because there's so much writing advice out there, and some things are helpful for some people, and some things destroy others' creativities. I have tried some writing methods that I hated so much I never touched that book again. So I'm a big advocate of finding what works for you. And that's one reason why I love asking authors about their own processes, to just see like how many different ways there are to approach writing a novel. There's no right or wrong answer.
Yes.
There's no one correct way to do it. So I love seeing when authors find what works for them.
Yeah, that's my biggest piece of advice. Anytime a new writer comes to me and asks how to get started, it's like, find your process. It takes experimenting, and don't get locked into any specific writing advice and feel that's the right answer. You just have to experiment and see what works for your brain. Everybody's different. We all have different ways of feeling creative. We all have different methods of utilizing our creativity. So I think it's just all about finding what really works for you individually. And sometimes it takes a few books to figure it out, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would love to hear what your publishing journey was like. I know that you started writing this book many years ago, so it's been a long journey to get here. So how did you get here?
Yeah, so I started writing when I was so sick. I literally had nothing else I could do with my time. And in a way, I feel like it kind of saved my life. It gave me something to look forward to every day, a reason to get up, something to just feel I was doing with my life when I had just voluntarily given up my career because I was too sick to do anything else. And so I started reading voraciously, and then I decided to start writing, and I didn't know if I could do it. I had never written anything before. I always loved telling stories. Like, I used to make up stories for my siblings all the time, but I just didn't think I could do it. I wasn't any good at English. I was not a good student in school in general. And I just had it in my head that, like, to write, you had to have like a master's degree in English or something, and you had to know grammar. And honestly, like, yeah, that, it's not going to hurt you. It certainly helps, but you don't have to. And, I think the best writers are those who just read and they just have a really good sense of, like the flow of books and what works and so on. And so I don't know, I just jumped in and gave it a go. I didn't think anything would come of it. I wrote my first book in 2016. I think I finished it early 2017. I entered it into AMM, which is Author Mentor Match. It's a program that's no longer around, but it was really great at the time. And it's essentially you submit to different authors and they can decide whether or not they want to work with you. And each author picks one mentee out of all the submissions. And I was lucky enough to be chosen. And I'm so grateful for that experience. My amazing mentor, she wrote this edit letter that was very foundational in my knowledge for how to write a book. She gave me some other books to read about craft, and I took all that very seriously. I revised that book. I jumped into the query trenches and got nowhere with it. I think I queried it for 2 years, but I learned so much in that process. And during that time, I wrote 2 more books. So I wrote the one that I kind of mentioned earlier where I fast drafted it, and I couldn't go back to it after that. It just no longer worked for my brain. I didn't even know where to start. I felt overwhelmed. But then I got this idea about this dancer. The scene just popped in my head one day. And so I made a decision to not go back to the other book and just to try this one. It just really had its clutches on me. I feel like I saw it so clearly, the intro at least. And so I wrote it. I wrote it in 6 months. It was the fastest thing I had ever drafted, and started querying it pretty quickly. Actually, sorry, I first submitted it to Pitch Wars and I didn't get in, but one of the mentors so kindly offered to take me under her wing, even though I wasn't her official mentee. I was kind of like unofficial one. And so she really just reaffirmed there wasn't anything foundationally wrong with it. She just kind of saw different ways to strengthen what I had. And so I worked with her to get it query ready. And once I started querying, the pandemic hit. So that meant some agents read really quickly because there was nothing else to do. And then others were fairly so distracted. And so I sent out a first batch and didn't hear anything. I was writing another book just to keep myself distracted. Actually, 2 books. I wrote 2 books while I was in the query trenches with the book that is now my debut. I ended up getting 2 offers and then an offer / R&R. And then choosing agents was the worst process ever because I just loved both of the offering agents so much. And I still do to this day. I ended up choosing the agent who had a lot of similar health issues as me. And I just feel like she really understood from that front, like kind of what I would need accessibility wise and all that. And I really loved her vision for the book. So we went on sub. My sub journey was 2 years.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And again, I can't remember the exact dates at this point. What is time? Everything's blending together. But I was on sub for 2 years before we had any interest. During sub, though, I will say we went to acquisitions a few times. And then my Canadian editor offered and changed my life. And my Canadian editor was the one who took it back on sub in the US to sell our US rights. And then meanwhile, we were getting interest in the UK. And yeah, so everything just kind of spiraled. I ended up finding myself in multiple auctions. It was just such a wild time. Even now, that didn't happen. My brain cannot fully wrap around it. This book, I wrote it in 2018 and I just never thought anything would come of it. And then all of a sudden there was all these people who wanted it. And I still don't know how to process that. I cried so many times during that period of all the auction, everything with that. I was very emotional. It was a wonderful and unbelievable experience. And then it took me a year and a half to announce. My editor wanted to wait until the 1-year mark from release. But yeah, so it's been a long time. It's been a long time coming, but it's also very surreal.
It sounds like you had, honestly, even though it was long-winded and it probably felt it was taking forever at the time, honestly, a pretty incredible journey. Getting to work with a mentor program, honestly, I'm so sad that that doesn't exist anymore. There used to be so many different types of writing mentorship programs, and they have all just slowly fizzled out and gone away. And that's something that I think the community really needs to bring back.
I completely agree. I miss them so much. It was such a pivotal part of my journey, and my writing group has considered potentially in the future trying to organize something. I know a couple other people are too, but yeah, it's so sad. It used to be, there was such a community on Twitter, especially, and all of that is now gone.
I kind of wonder if that is a big reason why we don't have some of those communities anymore, is because various social media is moving to the dark side.
It's so true. Oh, it's true. But I'm hoping that there's, well, hope for the future. I'm hoping that, there's ways we can kind of bring it back. I mean, it seems maybe a little one is developing on Threads in terms of just like writing community. So yeah, here's to hoping.
I guess in the end, what it comes to is we can all hope and talk about how much we need these communities, but in order for them to exist, we really have to make them exist instead of just, man, I wish somebody would bring this back. Well, no one's going to bring it back if, we don't all collectively kind of stand up and say, yes, we need this. And we're the ones who need to bring it back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so down to help and do my part where I can. But yeah, I so agree. I feel like it's so needed.
Maybe that'll be my next project with the podcast, We talk about books, everything. Yeah. We'll just create our own mentorship and writing community again. Why not?
Definitely, yes.
Anyway, so I just wanted to thank you again so much for joining me today, and congratulations on A Dance of Lies. I've been waiting for another romantasy to add to my shelves that literally cannot hold any more books whatsoever.
Not a bad problem.
Not a terrible problem to have, just need more shelves.
Honestly, same. My books are overflowing everywhere, but you know what? It's not going to stop, and I have accepted my fate.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was a bookstagrammer for several years, and getting free books that way, it was the best because I had no money there for a while. I couldn't spend that between that and the library, and then all of a sudden it's like my collection has kind of exploded, and now I'm able to like get books and support my friends, and my shelves are like my pride and joy. I'm so like, I love them. Sometimes I just stare at them. I'm like, yes, books. There's nothing better.
Right? Sometimes you really do. You just got to go and stare at the shelves and just appreciate them.
Yes, like it's works of art. It really is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyway, I just want to thank you again for coming on to Must Love Books podcast. This has been such a pleasure, and congratulations again on A Dance of Lies. To all of our listeners, please go pick up a copy.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for having me. It's been such a pleasure. And I'm excited to kind of see what comes of it. Like, let's see what happens with that poll. Oh, guys, we need your own adventure.
Yes. Don't forget. Yes, listeners, please just talk about it everywhere. Need adult choose your own adventures back. Let's make this go viral on all the social medias, because if everyone starts talking about it, someone's going to do it.
Guys.
And I would like them to do it for me. So please do this for me.
Same for both of us.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. This has been Must Love Books. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon under @MustLoveBooksPodcast. Thank you and happy reading.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
This is your before and after story, where your first steps towards a new life-changing career begin. Southeastern College can take you there. We offer in-demand hybrid and online programs with hands-on training, led by in-field career professionals, and career services to put you on the path to a rewarding and fulfilling future. This is where your transformation begins. Southeastern College, your future is bright. Visit sec.edu to get started.